Namaste. Let us today understand the anatomy and physiology of this human body system. As all of you know, we are not only this physical body, but as understood by the modern medical science, let us understand what this Annamaya Kosha is made of. The human body system, think of yourself having to create a robot. So what is the initial thing you are going to do? You are going to put a steel rod and frames. So what is that frame made of? The frame is made of our skeletal system. So it forms the basic hard core material with which the system is made of. The skeletal system not only gives the basic frame and the support and protects various important organ parts of the body, and it helps maintaining homeostasis, a balance between right, left and various functions of the body, and also forms inside the core of the bones. We have the bone marrow which manufactures the blood for our body. The skeletal system consists of bones, cartilages, semi-bones, the connective tissue which consists of the ligaments, capsule, joint material, etc. So bones, joints form the basic skeletal system. So this skeletal system cannot be all rigid. It has to have lot of joints so that it can move. So what do the joints consist of? Joint consists of two long bones coming together. There are different types of joints, different types of bones. Long bones in the limbs and small bones in the trunk for various types of functions. So the long bones where the movement has to happen have got joints. Joint has got the joint surface, the two bone ends coming together cannot rub against each other and create karakara sound. So we have to have a smooth coating on either side, and that smooth coating has to be so smooth that it is made of what we call as cartilage, which is a semi-bone, and that cartilage forms a coating at one end of one bone, another end of one bone, and when they are moving the bones don't rub against each other, and it has to be contained in a capsule. It contained in a strong container, so that is called the joint capsule, and this movement area should be lubricated. So we have the synovial fluid to lubricate, and the inner lining which should be very fluffy so that the blood flow will be very efficient. Therefore there is a synovial membrane. So these are called as moving joints or articular joints. Then there are some joints for flat bones. For example, the skull. The skull has to do the joint protecting the brain. Therefore, it does not need moving joints. It needs firm joints. So it doesn't have a articular joint. There is no cartilage. It just gets fixed with each other. Then there are some joints which have to be managed in a very fine movement, for fine movement. Therefore, they have got different sizes, different shapes of the skeletal system. And the skeletal system, as I told you, also has got the long bones in which we have the central bone marrow. And this bone marrow manufactures all our blood ingredients, the red blood cell, mother cells, the mother cells of white blood cells, the mother cells of platelet cells. All these are there in our bone marrow. Now, these bones which are standing there with joints now have to start moving. So I have to give the robotic movement. So what is it that moves the joints? This is called the muscular system. So the muscular system interacts with the skeletal system to bring about the movement. Any movement anywhere in the body, whether it's a inside movement, outside movement, visible movement, invisible movement, is all carried out by muscles. So the movement that has to happen in the limbs which are visible, where long bones have to be moved, there are skeletal muscles. But there are internal organs where the muscles have to move. The heart, for example, heart has to pump. So it has got a very specific type of muscle called cardiac muscle. The speciality of cardiac muscle is it not only responds to an electrical stimulus, but it can also generate an electrical stimulus and start working by itself, contracting and relaxing rhythmically when required. So all muscles, skeletal muscles for voluntary muscles, cardiac muscle with a very special structure to generate its own electrical current so that it can do its rhythmic activity when necessary, which is the only muscle which can do that, and the smooth muscles which form the lining of the all other internal organs, stomach, intestine, blood vessel, lymph vessel, all these they have to move something. So stomach has to move the food, intestine has to move the food, the sphincters have to open and empty the bowel. So all these where there is movement, there is a muscle, air passage muscle, bronchial muscle. So all these are called involuntary muscles, which have got smooth muscle, which are all controlled by the autonomic nervous system. So any muscle anywhere in the body needs an electrical shock, a current coming from the nervous system so that it can initiate its movement. So muscle functions by short, say for example take the arm muscle, thick bicep muscle. Bodybuilders build up thick muscles, is it not? So this muscle has got bundles of long fibers which are called as muscle fibrils, which got together to form muscle fiber, muscle bundles which are large number of cells, and these are soft things which can increase or decrease in length, and at the end of these muscles which are soft, elongating and shortening aspects of the cells, there is a very complicated arrangement for the muscles to shorten or lengthen by the arrangement of the cells, by the chemical processes that happen inside. But at the end of this muscle, where the muscle, say for example this muscle has to bend my elbow. When the elbow has to bend, it has to become short. So it has to pull this joint, elbow joint. Therefore, at the point where it has to get fixed to the bone, doesn't have the muscle fiber, but it is called the tendon. Two ends of the muscles, particularly at its origin and its insertion, we have got the tendons. Tendon where it is getting attached to the bone across a joint is the way the muscle carries on its function. So muscle origin, insertion, muscle bundle and the tendon. So this is how the muscles are attached to the limb girdles. So muscles carry on all their functions, and when they do their job, they need their connections which are to be carried out by the nervous system. So it's the nervous system which gives the electrical connections to every muscle, whether it's an internal organ muscle or a voluntary muscle, small muscle or big muscle, spinal muscle. All these muscles have got a basic function to move the body, and that's how we start moving and maintaining our gravity, maintaining our erect posture. For all these we need muscles and the nervous system with which it interacts. Now, the muscles, when they are to moving, they need energy. The energy has to be supplied by the circulatory system. The blood brings the energy to the cells, to the muscles, to all parts of the body, particularly the musculoskeletal system. Every cell in the body need their oxygen need their nourishment for them to carry on their functions. So that is supplied by the blood or the circulatory system. So what are the parts of the functions of the circulatory system? It brings pure oxygenated blood from the lungs to all parts of the body and returns the impure blood or the venous blood to the heart. So supplying oxygen to each and every cell, brain cell, skin cell, bone cell, cartilage cell, ligament cell, every cell to supply its oxygen is the function of the circulatory system. So what are the parts of the body, parts of the circulatory system? Obviously it is the heart which pumps the blood continuously 24/7 all 100 years of our life without taking any rest. So heart needs continuous pumping action, rhythmic pumping, contraction called the systole, relaxation called the diastole, where the pure blood and the impure blood get filled into the heart, and when it contracts, the impure blood is pumped into the lungs, pure blood is pumped into all parts of the body, and through that the heart carries on the circulatory pumping effect, creates a pressure. So when the heart is contracting, what makes it contract? What it is made by the heart muscle. The entire heart is nothing but a muscle. So cardiac muscle, as I told you, it is made of cardiac muscle which has got its own capacity to generate its own rhythmic capacity to contract and relax, but it doesn't always do that. It waits for electrical currents. So electrical currents come from the pacemaker, which is again neuromuscular cell, which is at the root of the heart. As all of you would have heard, each person's heart is of the size of a fist, and the upper part of the heart are the two receiving chambers, lower part of the heart are the two pumping chambers, ventricles and the atria. Atria to receive the blood, right side of the heart to receive the impure blood, left side of the heart to pump the purified blood. So how does it happen? The veins bring the blood from all parts of the body to the right ventricle, right atrium. From the right atrium, the blood is pumped down into the right ventricle. Right ventricle contracts, and then it sends the blood to the lungs, where the flow goes to all parts of the lung, where around the air sacs the impure blood flows very slowly, and then carbon dioxide goes out from the blood into the air sac, and pure oxygen from the inhaled air comes into the capillary or the blood vessel, and then it is purified. The purified blood is brought back into the left atrium, and this left atrium sends it to the left ventricle, which has the thickest muscle because it has to now pump it to the entire body. So the blood flows from the left ventricle through the aorta to all parts of the body through branches called arteries. So what are arteries? They carry the pure blood from the heart to all parts of the body, and final branch of an artery is an arteriole, where it becomes so small that it becomes so narrow that it becomes a last branch called the capillary. In the capillary, the blood flows so very slowly around the cells so that good oxygen can flow, diffuse from the capillary into the cell. Impure carbon dioxide can enter from the cell into the capillary, and this is all collected through veins. What are veins? Veins are blood vessels which bring the blood from all parts of the body to the right atrium, and the right ventricle. So this is how the circulation goes on, which is consisting of the heart, the blood vessels, and the purification process where pure blood is created in the lung and impure blood is created in the periphery by taking away the impurities from the cells, so that continuous purification can happen, and the blood is circulating also into the excretory system where waste products can be excreted. Circulatory system interacts with the respiratory system. There is a continuous interaction. So let us now understand the respiratory system, the breathing system. What is the main function of our breathing system? To take in oxygen and then diffuse it into the blood in the lungs, and then take away the carbon dioxide from the blood and exhale it into the atmosphere. So to do this, the entire respiratory system consists of the airways and the air sac. The airways starting from the nose. Nose is not only just a conduit for the air to move in, it also has got very special functions. What are the two major functions of the nose? One is it is an organ of smell, and it also is an organ where it can sense any dangerous substances that may be entering into the nose, so that the structure of the nose itself is so complexly arranged that it will not allow any particles to go in by the downward projecting hairs, and then the crooked inner passage by what we call as concave of the nose, which makes the passage very, very crooked, and the lining of the two nostrils, the two passages, lining is made of sticky, hairy lining, the mucous membrane, which gives the adhering wide surface for all the dirty particles that may be entering into the nose. So nose is almost like an AC. It filters the air, it cleans up the air, warms up the air, senses any dangerous material, keeps very strong immune system to fight away anything that may be there, and is a very important organ of smell, and also it has got a capacity to throw away the waste products or unwanted material by what we call a sneezing reflex. So these are all the functions even in the very first entry point, because that's where all the dirty material, unwanted material, bacteria, poisonous material, bad gases can enter into our system. So this has got a very complex mechanism, very sensitive structure. Then go down, we have the throat, the pharynx, the upper part of the pharynx, the nasopharynx, the lower part of the pharynx, the oropharynx, and this is a common chamber for the food that we swallow and the air that goes in. So below at the down part of the pharynx is the passages for the air or the windpipe in front, the trachea and the food pipe at the back. So when we swallow, for example, we have got to see that the food particle does not enter in the common chamber from the oropharynx to the nasopharynx. So nature has provided the soft palate which moves up when we swallow to prevent the air from food from entering into the nose, and closes the epiglottis on the trachea so that the food can slide down to the backside into the food tube, the esophagus. Very complex, beautiful arrangement. Then as we go down, before the trachea we have the larynx, which is the most important organ, the voice box, which is a beautiful drum, which beautiful box which has got a very, very complex arrangement which helps us in the speech. So it has got the vocal cords, very thin sheets which are controlled by very thin sheet of muscle, a box, a thin sheet attached with muscles below and above and front and back, so that it can move up and down, sideways, backwards, forwards. And these muscles of the larynx are the ones which are very, very important to produce the voice. As we breathe out, as the air is moving out, when the vocal cords come together and creates a narrow passage through which the air is flowing, so that the voice can be produced. The voice is not only produced by the voice box, but the quality of the voice, the nature of the voice, the resonance of the voice is all provided by the air sinuses which are found in the face and the face, which provide the beautiful resonance and the quality to the voice. Then as the air goes down the air passage, the trachea is made rigid so that it doesn't collapse when we exhale by strips of cartilage, which makes the trachea or the windpipe very strong tube through which the air can flow freely. Trachea divides into right and left bronchus or bronchi, bronchus singular, bronchi plural, which goes on dividing like the branches of a tree into several branches, and the air goes on flowing. And this bronchus also is not a quiet, simple, rigid tube. It has got the capacity to increase or decrease its size. To do that, to maintain the patency of the bronchi, there are strips of cartilage, rings of cartilage arranged all the way along, but between two rings of cartilage there are small circular strips of muscle which makes the bronchi very, very pliable. So it can decrease or increase or decrease its size depending on the need for ventilation. Say for example you want to jog. When you want to jog, we want all the air passages to be widely open. Say for example we are all standing here, we want to run. We go and open all the windows, isn't it? So similarly, when we want to do a lot of exercise, we want to breathe faster and getting lot more oxygen, all the bronchial passages can open up by relaxing the bronchial muscle. Then when there is no need for that, it can be maintaining at a normal caliber. But suddenly you inhale something very dangerous. Say you inhale a chili powder or a poisonous gas. Air passage senses that and immediately sneezes, cough, and tightens up the air passage by the bronchial muscle, which helps in preventing that poisonous gas going down the air passage. Look at this wonderful nature's mechanism to recognize dangerous, healthy air that goes into the body, and that's what is arranged all the way along. Then down the air passage, we have the last portion where there are no cartilages, called the bronchiole, and this bronchiole ends up in air sacs. The air sac is a very thin walled single layer of cell where the pure oxygen enters into it, and around this air sac is the thin single cell lined capillary. So air sac, thin capillary through which has got only two layers of cells, so that oxygen can diffuse, carbon dioxide can diffuse out of the blood into the air sac, oxygen diffuses. So it happens by just the difference in the partial pressure of the gases, and that's how it happens. Now we have to inhale the air and exhale the air. How does that happen? That happens by the chest wall. The chest wall is the one which has got ribs with attached muscles which contract to expand the chest in the forward, upward and outward direction. That produces inhalation. This is the chest wall intercostal muscles. And another major muscle is the diaphragm in the lower portion. When we breathe in, the diaphragm, which is a dome-like structure in the lower part of the chest, becomes flattened, and so the lower portion of the chest can get more space and air simply flows in. And when we want to do very deep breathing, fast breathing, vigorous breathing, there is one more additional support called the neck muscles or the clavicular muscles. So when we want to do deep breathing, we use this portion of the muscles also, so that more air can enter into the upper portion of the chest. So intercostal muscles, diaphragmatic muscles, clavicular muscles, 3 sets of muscles. This is what you are training in your full yogic breathing. Diaphragm in abdominal breathing, intercostal muscle in your thoracic breathing training in your pranayama program, in Vibhagiya pranayama, and the clavicular muscles in the upper chest breathing, or the Uttama pranayama, where we get better mastery over these muscles. So inhalation happens by contraction, active contraction of these 3 sets of muscles. Exhalation happens by just the relaxation of all the 3 sets of muscles. So exhalation is a passive process, inhalation is a active process. So what is the function of the respiratory muscles? To expand and contract. And air to enter in, oxygen to enter in, carbon dioxide to be thrown out. In the process, lot of other mechanisms are there to sense any danger, throw it away, fight it away, etc.